delivery when you order on our app. Panera. Live your yes. Pricing and product availability may vary. Visit PaneraBread.com.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
The holidays may be the most wonderful time of the year, but at the Home Depot, we like to think getting ready for the holidays is a close second. Because the holidays may have 2 turtle doves, but we have a Milwaukee 2-tool combo kit for just $129. And the holidays may have Yule logs and cozy fires, but we have a Wise thermostat for $79.98. So stop by the Home Depot and save on everything you need to get your home holiday ready and enjoy the pre-holiday season almost as much as you enjoy the holidays themselves. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Holiday season almost as much as you enjoy the holidays themselves. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
And now, welcome back to Andy Cohen Live and a special cast event with the stars of impeachment, Beanie Feldstein, Sarah Paulson, and Annaleigh Ashford.
Mr. President, do you know a woman named Monica Lewinsky?
That's me. That's my face.
This isn't about justice.
Then what is it about?
Impeachment.
Here's your host, Andy Cohen.
Wow, it's a remix with Monica and Linda. Good morning, ladies. I'm so excited you're here. Beanie, Sarah, and Annaleigh. Impeachment American Crime Story is airing right now at Tuesdays at 10 on FX. And each of you is so great as Paula Jones, Monica Lewinsky, and Linda Tripp. I wonder if each of you could tell me one thing that you discovered about the woman that you're playing that surprised you, or that you didn't know, or that, you know, was opposite of whatever your preconceived notion might have been. Starting with you, Beanie, who plays Monica.
Starting with me.
I like to start with Beanie always. I think that's really.
I'm honestly shocked that you got to do it with Sarah. I was like, and Beanie. Honestly, everyone always hates when I say this, but I was only 4 years old when this happened. So
I gotta go.
I gotta go too. Click.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys. This was great.
I didn't necessarily the really entrenched misunderstanding of Monica that a lot of people have. So I was operating from a beautiful place in that I was like as blank of a slate as you could possibly be about a historical event. But that being said, I did not know whatsoever about the traumatic day that occurred on January 16th, 1998, when Monica was led to the mall by Linda Tripp and then taken by the FBI and the Office of Independent Counsel, and that she was in a closed room with armed men for 12 hours. I had no idea that happened. I remember hearing something about that she was at a mall when it happened, but that was kind of all that I had taken in as a kid and as a teenager. So when I delved into the research, the amount of information that I learned about that night, which the Office of Independent Counsel referred to as prom night, because it was 30 minutes. They thought it would be 30 minutes with a young girl in a hotel room, which is just so foul.
That is disgusting.
That's literally they named it Operation Prom Night because they thought they could turn her 30 minutes in a hotel room.
Wow. Wow.
That level of misogyny and the level of fear and bravery that she exhibited in that room was completely new to me. So
wow. That's interesting. Annaleigh, what about Paula Jones?
You know, the thing that was, there's two things that surprised me a lot when I was researching her. First is how much she changed over the course of her sort of 6 years in the public eye.
Right.
You know,
she got a glow up.
Oh, she got a glow up. And I knew that there was a point where we sort of like watched her go through media puberty. So she had braces at one point during one of the depositions. Yeah,
I love an adult with braces.
Me too. I mean, it's also like I'm loud and proud about whatever's happening with my jaw. My bite needs some fixing, and I'm going to do it right now in front of you all.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? But so really, like her physical transformation, but even in just the way that she would sit in an interview, she had so much more confidence by the time we sort of got to 1998. But most of all, what surprised me more than anything was how much her husband was the motivator in her intention for coming out, speaking up, and really, I don't think she would have said anything ever except for a few girlfriends if her husband hadn't pushed her, which is, quite horrific in itself. I'm happy that she said what she needed to say and, eventually sort of tried to speak her truth. But it is very heartbreaking that there was a man behind it, even with that.
Sarah, I would argue that your portrayal is probably the most sympathetic that we've seen of Linda Tripp in terms of I understood her motivation this time around in a way that I never had. What surprised you that you learned about Linda?
Just about everything. I was not were you 4, Beanie? 5 when it happened? I was not that young, so I did have some cursory knowledge of Linda, and none of it was positive. I really was not. I didn't like what she had done, and I had a lot of judgment about it, and a lot of sort of predetermined ideas about why. So every single thing that I learned was sort of a revelation to me. I mean, chiefly, probably if I had to distill it down to one thing, was the pride, the absolute reverence and pride she had for her job at the White House and for the institution, and the respect for it. And having been a military wife and being in that environment so often, she had such respect for the institution, and that's sort of where the crack comes that sort of precedes every other fault line that exists after that, because she just kind of has her heart broken by being sort of forsaken and unseen in a world that had meant the world to her. And then once she was broken, it was like her ability to hold the veracity of the situation in a high regard maybe sort of got a little bit murky and lost for her.
So nice to hear that Linda Tripp's children have come out publicly and said how much that their mother would have loved your portrayal of her, which is pretty incredible.
That to me was sort of like, once I saw that, I just thought nothing else matters in terms of how this piece is held or seen or reviewed or criticized or celebrated. I just thought her daughter wishes that her mother had seen it. And that just made me feel like I had to have gotten something right.
Conversely, Annaleigh, I don't think Linda Tripp or Paula Jones is going to be at any of your future Broadway opening nights.
You never know.
That's true, actually. You're right. What do you think she's pinging on that's making her not love your portrayal of her?
Well, I think it's probably hard for anybody to watch themselves being played and their story being retold. And I was really struck by her saying that she was sort of sad that she wasn't involved and she wasn't asked or talked to about it. But in the true history of American Crime Story, we didn't talk to people. Monica Lewinsky is the one exception to that rule, and I'm happy we stuck to our guns with that idea, because there was so much research that we had at hand that we didn't need to go to the source. And also it's mostly good to keep the source away because they're too close
complicates
to it.
Things. Conversely, Monica is a producer on the show. And I wonder, Beanie, were there specific things that you went to her about and said, What were you feeling when you were in this room? Or, was there any emotional direction that she gave you that was helpful? Or did you not use her as a resource in that way?
In that way, I didn't use her as a resource because I was trying to... Monica is both a producer and the subject, one of the subjects of our piece. And when you're portraying someone's trauma, like specifically the night I was talking about, prom night, she regards as the most terrifying day of her entire life to this date in her 48 years. So as someone who myself has had horrible, terrifying moments in my life, as we all have, the last thing I would want to do is make her rehash that minute by minute for me.
Well, I mean, she's used to it.
But that's really traumatizing to a person.
Right.
And I did extensive research. So by the time I met Monica, I'd been researching her for 9 months. Yeah. And what I wanted was to simultaneously for me to get to know more about her, obviously, but also for her to get to know me so that she could build a trust with me and that she knew that her story was in very respectful hands, and for her to know that I felt very protective of her and that she could trust me with her story. But really it was very small details that I would go to her for. So like her best friend's name is Catherine. And I was like, did you call her Kat? Did you call her Kathy? Like I wanted to get all of these really small, what nail polish color were you wearing? Did you call your grandma on that side Bubby? Or did you call the other grandma Bubby? Like, just these small details, because that stuff I couldn't find in a book. And that's only from lived experience. But the other things she has rehashed, as you said, so often, and she was deposed 23 times about this by the Office of the Counsel, that I just thought, it's my job to reenact it. It's not her job to have to rehash it to me.
Oh, that's a good philosophy. I've known Monica for many years, and I've been, for me, who's been around with famous people, there's no one that I've ever been kicking around with in public that generates the amount of head turns as Monica Lewinsky, like by a mile. What do you think it is, Beanie, that people are so fascinated by about her?
Well, I think actually the question applies to all three women. It's just that both Linda and Paula felt the need so severely by the public reaction to them that they underwent surgery to change their faces. Like, I think if you even look at all three of the women, Monica is the only one that didn't have plastic surgery, that didn't change her name.
That is so interesting.
The end of the season, these two so brilliantly explore what Linda and Paula had to deal with once their name was public. And Paula, Annaleig's performance is sort of throughout. Paula Jones is a name that's known to the world from the beginning of our story, but it wreaked havoc on all three of their lives. And I think that Monica is obviously the youngest and was the one that didn't get plastic surgery, that didn't change her last name. And unfortunately, I think our society is, the way that women were treated in the 90s in the media was so horrific. Yeah. And I think that they placed a scarlet letter on Monica, and it is yet to be removed.
Yeah.
And I felt such an intense responsibility to be a part of this show that between all three of the portrayals of Linda, Monica, and Paula, we hope to rewrite their stories and the way that the public sees them. And so I hope that when Monica goes out into the world now, I'm sure she'll always turn heads, but I hope what people are thinking is different as they turn their head.